the new way to get your fix at Starbucks. Hi there, welcome to Plain English lesson number 331. I'm Jeff, the producer is JR, and he has posted the full lesson at plainenglish.com/331. On today's lesson, a new, faster way to get your morning coffee, Starbucks is accelerating its plans to build more pickup-only locations where you don't have to interact with a single human to get your morning coffee. The phrasal verb we talk about today is shake up, and we have a song of the week from the 80s. The world's biggest coffee chain is preparing to shake up the way you get your morning fix. At a conference last year, Starbucks told investors it would be accelerating its plan toward more pickup-only stores. Prior to COVID, Starbucks had been planning to build pickup-only stores over a 3 to 5 year period, but the company will compress that timeline to just 18 months. It's part of a company-wide move toward smaller footprint stores that have lower operating expenses but can still accommodate a high volume of orders. But wait a minute, you might be thinking. Is this the same Starbucks that pioneered the concept of the third place? Indeed, it is. Years ago, when Starbucks was making higher quality coffee popular, it positioned its cafes as a third place that you could spend time in addition to home and the office. Its cafes were designed for either personal or professional time. It would be common to see a creative on his MacBook, a couple on a date, two business people preparing for a meeting, a group of friends catching up, and a single person reading a book with headphones on, all in the same store. However, that vision masks what Starbucks has become over time. In fact, over 80% of the tickets in the U.S. are for takeout only. Many Starbucks cafes have lines out the door of people waiting for orders. To be honest, that ruins the cozy cafe vibe when there are crowds of people standing around and baristas yelling out names and orders. I lived in New York for a few years, and I can tell you the majority of Manhattan Starbucks stores are de facto pickup locations to begin with. Many of the cafes have just a handful of stools, while hundreds of customers come through per hour for their mobile orders or takeout orders. In the long run, the company's new pickup locations may funnel some traffic out of traditional cafes, and in that way, they can serve both types of customers better. The pickup locations can get an order into the hands of an on-the-go customer faster. At the same time, the pickup locations might draw away some of the foot traffic from traditional cafes. It's a win-win. Starbucks has already experimented with the new format in New York and Toronto. The New York location is near Penn Station, the busiest train station in the U.S. The Canadian location is in Commerce Court in Toronto's financial district. Here's how they work. If you're in the neighborhood, you open the Starbucks app and place a mobile order. Instead of choosing a traditional cafe, you choose the pickup location. The app will give you an alert when your order is ready. You walk in, see your name and order on an electronic screen, pick up your order off the counter, and go. You pay on the app, so there's no standing in line. There are no crowds either, since you're only called to come into the store when your order is ready. The whole process is over in a matter of seconds, perfect for the New Yorker or Torontonian on the go. Starbucks is also experimenting with more suburban locations, drive-through only locations, while culling some of its urban stores in places like New York. The company is doing detailed population modeling, trying to estimate how many office workers will be in urban cores and how many stores and what combination of formats will be needed to serve them. The company is also experimenting with more technology in its existing stores. Starbucks head of technology, Roz Brewer, that's really his name, Roz Brewer said that his team is using artificial intelligence to change the menu boards in traditional stores. Factors such as the weather, time of day, season, inventory, and popularity might affect the menu display inside the stores. The more people use the Starbucks app, the more the company can customize the menu options for each consumer inside the app too. The pickup locations will push people to use the app for routine transactions, helping the company gather more data on customer preferences. Starbucks had to shut most of its stores during the worldwide lockdowns of early 2020, but over 95% of its stores are open now. Stores in China, a big market for its future growth, have been posting strong sales increases between now and 2030, even taking into account COVID. The company plans to increase its store footprint by about 2/3 and expand into 20 more countries. Here's how popular the Starbucks app had gotten. At the Starbucks on the lower level of the Merchandise Mart here in Chicago, where I used to get off the train to go to work, there's a counter for app order pickups and a line for traditional orders. Over the counter is a huge sign saying, "Save time, order on the app." And there's a long line of people waiting for their app orders, while the traditional slow line was empty. So I'd be curious about the app-only locations. I know we have a lot of listeners in both New York and Toronto. So if you've gotten your Starbucks fix at a pickup location, let me know how it went in our Facebook group at plainenglish.com/Facebook. And many of us in other big cities will get to experience the pickup locations in the next 18 months. Today's expression is a phrasal verb, shake up. To shake up is to make a change to a routine. Starbucks is going to shake up the way you get your morning coffee. They're going to change your routine. This is a bit of an exaggeration. The vast majority of its cafes and customers won't change. But the new pickup-only locations will shake up the morning routine of customers that like to order on the app. I shook up my morning routine today. In fact, it snowed last night just a little bit, and the trees and streets were covered in snow. I'm writing and recording this on a Sunday. My typical morning on a Sunday is to have coffee in my sunroom and then work on plain English midday. But today, I shook things up. I went out for a long walk in the park to enjoy the recently fallen snow. Then I came back and had my coffee, which I make myself, while I was writing this lesson. It's always good to shake up your routine a little bit. We often say, shake up your routine, because your routine is the list of things you do regularly. Shake up your morning routine. Do something a little different in the morning. It's also common to say, shake things up. If you want to change the way you normally do things, let's say you have a weekly meeting with your team at work, these days on Zoom, right? Let's pretend that on these meetings, you always start with the most important topics, and then you let people share some personal news at the end before the meeting is over. You might decide to shake things up a little bit and have people share their personal news first and then get down to business later. A new boss taking over a company might decide to shake things up. New company leaders, new CEOs, they're under a lot of pressure to make an impact right away. If the company is well run and well established, they might not want to shake things up. If everything is working well, there's no point in shaking things up. But if a new boss takes over a company that's maybe not doing as well, that new boss is going to want to shake things up. We talked about WeWork at the end of 2019, about how their plans to go public were derailed. Eventually, the founder was kicked out, and the new leadership team came in. They had to shake things up. They had to cancel a lot of distracting projects. They had to change the way things went. No more parties with tequila in the office. The old founder's personal sauna was removed. Yes, from the office. The new leadership team shook things up. They had to make some changes because the company was about to go out of business due to the mismanagement of its founder. In Lesson 313, we talked about the new way to buy a used car. A lot of new companies are hoping to shake up the process of buying a used car. They want to change the way you buy a used car for the better. They want to shake up the process. Time for an English song of the week. JR is back at the controls this week, and the song he chose is Come On Eileen by Dexy's Midnight Runners, one of the most popular songs of the 1980s. It came out in 1982 and was voted by Britain as their 6th favorite song of the 80s. So enjoy that one, Come On Eileen by Dexy's Midnight Runners. And that brings us to the end of today's lesson. If you think you need to shake things up in your career, shake things up in your personal life, then taking the next step in English might just be the thing for you in 2021. And if it is, then I think you'd really like being part of Plain English Plus, which will help you take that next step. We have step-by-step videos, tons of practice, translations, and the fast version of every lesson. I'm about to record the fast version of this one now in about 5 seconds, and you can listen to it if you're a member of Plain English Plus, so check that out at plainenglish.com/plus, PLUS.